If you were to wake up from a coma that you had been in over the last year, and I came to visit you and I told you, man, the Panthers are battling for first place in their division in the last week of the regular season, and the Lions won't make the playoffs, the Chiefs won't make the playoffs, you'd probably look at me like I am the craziest person alive. Well, boy, do I have a surprise for you because all of those three are accurately correct right now. And we're going to talk all about that. I'm your host, Matthew Reardon, and this is the Snap Count Show. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another installment of the Snap Count Show, where I'm your host, Matthew Reardon, and with me today is none other than Ed Smith.
Go Pack Go!
And Thaddeus Lloyd.
Heyo.
Well, happy New Year's Eve. Whenever you watch this, it'll be New Year's Eve, and if you happen to watch it after New Year's, well, happy New Year's as well. But if I give you a scenario here, we got three divisions I'm going to reference here. We got Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Start with Division 1. If I were to tell you Division 1, they are battling for the playoff spot in the last week of the season. Both teams can make the playoffs. All right. Division 2. Very similar, where they are both battling for a playoff spot. However, though, the loser will be eliminated. And then you have Division 3, where possibly there could be a three-way tie when all things are said and done to end the regular season. Would you say instantly, well, Division 3 clearly has to be the better division? It's a three-way tie. Well, if you do answer that, I'm going to tell you you're incorrect, because there is a chance where the Panthers, Buccaneers, and the Falcons can have a three-way tie when this is all said and done. And I'm just going to say that is not the best division in the NFL right now. But Ed, Thaddeus, would you have chosen probably Division 3 if you did not know the scenario?
Well, without knowing the scenario, it's hard to make a judgment call on any of these divisions. We know how much parity there is in the NFL, so it's a matter of who is it this time? Because we seem to run into these last week shenanigans each and every year, but it is wild to think that if one team that's not vying for the division crown ties the division leaders, then that actually disposes of one of the teams that's playing for the division crown.
Absolutely. And Thaddeus, I know you probably know which divisions I'm talking about here. Division 1 being clearly the NFC West, and then Division 2, the AFC North, and then lastly the NFC South. But it's clear as day who the best division is right now in the NFL. Would you agree, the NFC West?
Yeah, minus the Cardinals, this is, well, yeah, this is literally might be one of the best divisions of all time. I mean, three teams with at least 11, 12 wins. That's kind of insane. And still, obviously, the Rams lost to the Falcons unexpectedly last night as of recording this. But entering this last week, you had three teams vying for the one seed in the same division, which you really don't see often. I mean, last year we had the NFC North battling it out, where the Vikings versus the Lions, I believe, or the Packers, were vying for the one seed, and the Vikings lost that game, ended up being the 7 seed. But this year, this time around, we got the three NFC West teams two of them vying for the 1 seed. The loser is the 5 or 6 seed, not even the 7 seed. And then the third team will get the 5 or 6 seed no matter what. So it's just kind of insane how that's gone. And then you have the opposite side of the spectrum with the NFC South. No team is going to have a winning record in that division, but someone has to win that division. And unfortunately, some people are going to point to the NFC South like they're so bad. Like, why not give the spot to another team like the Lions or the Cowboys or the Vikings? But personally, I'm like, yeah, have a bad team in there. We remember, what was it, 15 years ago when the Seahawks won the NFC West at 7-8-1, and then they ended up having winning against the Saints, I believe, in that crazy wild card game. We could have some like that, something like that again. So, but it's just crazy how much checks and balances there are in the NFL, and every year we have a crazy division on both sides of the spectrum, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought for sure you were going to reference actually the Super Bowl between the Steelers and the Seahawks because they were both the wild card team that year, and it was the first time ever that a wild card team won a Super Bowl, and so it was a given. And that's the thing is that you never know. And this is not college football where we're giving handouts to the JMUs and the Ed knows all about it. Is you have to earn your spot, and I get it. You could look on paper that maybe the Lions are a better team than anyone in the NFC South, but at the end of the day, they did not do what needed to be done to make the playoffs. So that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. But you can't be hating on the Panthers right now. You really can't. So we'll talk more about them here in a bit. But it just shows you how crazy the NFL really is this year because you can't really predict anything because how I mentioned in the intro is the Lions. I guarantee you, most people you talk to, I know that they lost their coordinators. Okay, some people could be a little iffy about that, but they still have a lot of the same players on that team who are very dominant, and here they are missing the playoffs. So that is a big shocker to a lot of people. But just as Ed alluded to, there's a lot of parity in the NFL right now, and it's at its finest. So depending on how you like it, but before we get into these games, we have seen some news happening actually this today as we speak, and it's more of the Diggs and Diggs show. We're going to start with Trayvon Diggs, who was just released from the Dallas Cowboys. And that is big. It may not shock some people because of his injuries, but Trayvon Diggs, just a couple years ago, was talked about as being one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL. So the Cowboys had a lot of high hopes in him, and I get why they did. But then the injuries came in, and here's the thing in the NFL is, and actually as a pro athlete, it is very, very cutthroat. You get hurt, your career could easily be over because you are replaceable. So Trayvon Diggs goes down. You end up having Deron Bland really step up, made a lot of great plays, all those pick sixes, and that's just how the NFL world works. But Ed, where do you see Trayvon Diggs going from here? I mean, he can still clear waivers.
Yeah, he could certainly clear waivers, and there's a, a few landing spots that he could drop into as a auxiliary piece, to just kind of say, okay, go cover that guy, and then just leave him alone. I wouldn't trust him immediately to go cover a number one, but if you want to play just shut down corners and then use the rest of your defense to zone out the rest of the field, then I'm perfectly okay with that. There have been some people in the Green Bay Packers world that are like, we're injured everywhere. Why don't we go and just sign him for a 6-game contract or to the end of this year? Because the timing of this is what's really interesting to me. Because if if he would just keep his nose clean and not cause any waves in the Cowboy organization, do you really think that they would be letting him go and making him available to 14 teams that are about to play in January when the Cowboys are not?
Yeah, it is very unusual to see the timing of it for sure. So when it came across my phone today, I'm like, why now of all times? So that is
Mm-hmm.
something to keep of note. On to the other brother, the older brother, and Stephon Diggs, Thaddeus. His name is right now in the spotlight, but not for a good reason. Also, what are we hearing coming out of Stephon Diggs news?
Well, he's been, well, excuse me for a second. Yeah, I forgot what the correct phrase is, and I don't want to mess it up. Um,
Is
yeah,
it being is he being charged with a felony, or
I
right now
believe,
they're bringing charges of a felony?
I think so. Yeah, he denied it. Okay, yeah, he's facing felony strangulation and misdemeanor assault battery charges from an incident back 28 days ago on December 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, and that can be a very big distraction because keep in mind he's playing for the Patriots right now, uh, who are looking to lock up a top seed. So having your number one wide receiver possibly get suspended as we go into the playoffs is not a good look. So that's a cause of concern for the Patriots right now because if you've been paying attention to football this last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers lost their number one wide receiver to suspension. And look how horrible that offense looked against the Browns. Granted, I know the Browns had a top defense, but it can be a big issue.
Yeah, well, especially more so a little bit on Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers likes, especially the past couple of years, he likes to go to his guy, and he was throwing to MVS 3 times in a row in the red zone, which you don't do. So there was that, but then Drake made this would be really big for the Patriots because Stephon Diggs has been that guy. He helped out Josh Allen, now he's helped out Drake May, and Drake May's been amazing. He's probably he's now the betting favorite to win the MVP now. But was it because Drake May is just really good at distributing the ball, or is it due to Stephon Diggs and being really good? So, the second half of the season, we've seen Kyle Williams, their rookie wide receiver, step up. So maybe the void isn't that big, but it might be really big because their rushing attack has been really inconsistent all year. Sometimes it's been really good, sometimes it's been really bad. So this could be really huge for the Patriots coming down to the stretch. And if this leaks, if it's a more than 1 game suspension, if it leaks into the playoffs, it could be really dicey for the Pats.
Well, yeah, definitely, because I know that the NFL is probably gathering everything that they can because you are innocent until proven guilty. But it could be one of those scenarios where they put them on like an administration leave until things are settled. Because as we know, the NFL and the organizations want nothing to do with distractions, especially going into the playoffs. So I know right now it's just speculation. He has not been suspended, but it's something to keep an eye out on as we go into the playoffs because this last week, even though they dominated the Jets, it was just the Jets. They were without 5 of their starters. So Kayshon Boutte dealing with injury, Mac Hollins dealing with injury. So that's an injury played wide receiver room. And then Travion Henderson, even though it's his rookie year, he's been banged up and missed some time. Stevenson as well. So they really cannot afford suspensions and injuries this late in the year. So we'll see how things play out there, but that is some news to really keep an eye out on. Let's go ahead and take a dive into these games because I think these are some very big pivotal games that is going to decide what this playoff field is going to look like, and it is going to end the season for some of these teams. First one we're going to talk about, this is the first game we're going to see this week, and it is on Saturday. That is the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And boy, we have seen the tale of 2 seasons for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they started out as one of the best teams in the NFL. They were really riding that high and they were looking good. I mean, some people did not expect to see that coming from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but you have Baker Mayfield at quarterback. You had a healthy Mike Evans early on. Uh, Igbuka, excellent rookie wide receiver this year. Things were just really in sync for them at the beginning of this year. and they have fallen off big time. They have no identity. They've dealt with injuries, but even since then, they just look so out of rhythm. And I know if our very own David was here today, he would say the exact same things. So you really don't know which team's going to show up, Jekyll or Hyde. You don't know. They have more personalities than a schizophrenic, and that's just kind of what it is every Sunday with them. The Carolina Panthers, on the other side, who would have thought we would have been talking about them in week 18 to be making the playoffs? That wasn't on my bingo card whatsoever. So that's a major shocker right there. But they do have, the tools to do it. And it starts probably early on with a run game. And I know Thaddeus talks about it on here too, is give Rico Dowdle the ball. Why not? So, and we're going to talk about another running back here in a bit. The same thing applies for them too, and it's you establish the run early. That will always be success in the NFL. I stand by that firmly. You really establish that run game, you could open up your playbook by so many levels by doing so. And if they're able to do that against this Tampa Bay Bucs team, I think it's game over pretty early. But the key thing is, do they do that? Does the coaching staff actually strategize the game plan to this? This is the biggest game of the Panthers' year. It's actually the biggest game that they've had in quite some time. So, Ed, my question goes to you here first, and I'll let you take the reins on this game, is are we going to see any of the Tampa Bay Bucs that we saw early in this year, or do you think they're dead in the water?
I wouldn't necessarily call them dead in the water, just because you've got Baker Mayfield, who we know is a dog. You've got Egbuka, which he started out like gangbusters, but after Mike Evans got hurt, you started to see him, really take on a lot of the wide receiving offense, but started to flame out a little bit as more defenses started to bracket him and double him and get him really isolated from the rest of the passing game. So I don't necessarily say that they are dead in the water, and except for one thing, they're not wearing the Bucko Bruce unis this week, which was their good luck charm. When they played in Seattle earlier this season, in maybe the best uniform matchup we had all year, uh, they looked like a team that was on their way. But as you said, there's injuries, there's things that come up, and it doesn't help that your head coach, who is getting a warmer seat than he's had in many, many years, is calling out Baker Mayfield for he needs to be better. Well, doesn't Baker tell us he needs to be better every time he throws an interception? He's willing to take on that. He doesn't need his head coach piling on. He needs his head coach guiding him and sticking up for him, because that's his guy. He as a head coach have hitched his reins to Baker Mayfield, and there's nowhere else for him to go. So if Baker Mayfield suddenly turns on him for calling him out in the press, then there is no way that this coaching staff is in place after this year should they lose this game.
Yeah, and I would say I'd have to agree with that. And Thaddeus, what I'm going to ask you is, this kind of goes off of what David had mentioned to us earlier in our group thread, is there is, a boiling point right now within Tampa Bay, just like Ed was alluding to right now. And as I talked about, they start out 6-2, but their last 8, they are 1-7. You are starting to see a lot of the foundation crack up. Can we expect, believe it or not, I'm asking this, that Bryce Young of all people to put that final nail in the coffin?
You could potentially see that, because, well, the Bucs have had a lot of injuries this year. That's granted. The defense overall just has not been great, even though we did see a lot of injuries at the beginning of the year. They were kind of healthy. I mean, they were winning games, but the defense still didn't look good, even when healthy, and that's Bowles' expertise. So we could see a firing. Now, I believe I'd say if the Bucs lose, there's a 60% chance Bowles is fired. All right. Now the problem is that Baker's playing through a shoulder injury. When was the last time that happened? Back in Cleveland, he also played through a shoulder injury. What happened? He got released by the team because he wasn't doing as well as he did before, right? And he also just isn't as great when he has expectations versus when he's an underdog. So there's varying degrees of how Baker is, and obviously the quarterback, most probably the most important position on the entire football team. But it is a team game. And the defense has been lacking, which, like I said, it's supposed to be Bulls' expertise, and they've just been giving up so much offense. You gave up a ton of points and yards to Quinn Ewers and the Dolphins last week. How is that possible? Obviously, Baker didn't play a good game. They had 5 turnovers, I think. Yeah. But so this playoff game is going to be testament. Do the Bucks as a team, not the organization, but does the team want Bulls again next year? If they don't want him next year, they are going to lose the game. If they really want him as head coach, they are going to try to win this game. Also, maybe as revenge from losing to them 2 weeks ago. So it's going to be really telling to see what the team wants.
Yeah, well, you would hope that the team would want to win, but if they just hate Todd Bowles that much, we're going to see how that plays out. But
See, he was throwing the team under the bus the past couple weeks. So how does the team take that?
yeah, yeah,
Now, on kind of on the flip side, as we look at Carolina, I went back and looked at Bryce Young's game last week against the Seahawks. His air pass attempts were 10 yards and under for all but maybe 6 attempts beyond that point. And if he cannot stretch Tampa's defense, that is going to be a long day for Carolina's offense. Because, yes, you're going to keep giving the ball to Rico Dowdle until they stop it. But guess what? They are going to focus on Rico Dowdle to stop him running the ball. And Bryce Young has to make that up. But how is he going to make it up when he's not throwing the ball further than where Rico Dowdle would be running the ball anyway? So that, I think, is going to be a interesting part of this chess match in this game. Uh, is it the defense that will step up and be better than what they've been in the regular season? To your point, Thaddeus, they they have not been as good this season overall, but everybody's got a good game in them. Is this the game that they all show up and be the defense that Todd Bowles originally would have on the field?
yeah, and that's why you do establish that run game though early, because you start doing that, you bring the linebackers in a lot closer, which then opens up the field behind them for hopefully some bigger yardage plays passing. But that's if you're able to establish that run game early. If not, that changes the trajectory of the game. But I talked about how there is a crazy scenario at place, and it is in this division where this can happen because let's just say the Buccaneers beat the Panthers. Uh, and the Falcons lose, Bucs are in the playoffs. Panthers beat the Bucs, they're automatically in the playoffs regardless. But if the the Bucs beat the Panthers and the Falcons win as well, the Panthers hold a three-way tie breaker with the division and they would win. So it's just crazy to think that the Bucs could beat the Panthers and the Falcons lose and they automatically make it. But if the Bucs beat the Panthers and the Falcons win, because it's a three-way tie, the Panthers get the tiebreaker. It's just crazy to really wrap your mind around that. But there is a good chance that happens on Sunday. The Falcons in their year against the Saints, which that's no gimme. At the beginning of the year, we would have thought it would have been, but the Saints have actually been quite impressive down the stretch. So, but should the Falcons win that game, they could be playing spoiler. They know they cannot make the playoffs, but they can play spoiler for the Buccaneers at this point. So we may see that Sunday, and if so, that will be one crazy scenario. Thaddeus, who do you got winning this game?
I got the Panthers winning this game. Like I said, they have to force feed Rico Dowdle, and they can really do that against the Bucs defense. Bryce Young is like we've said overall with the team, but also specifically Bryce Young. They're Jekyll and Hyde. He is definitely Jekyll and Hyde. Like every single game, like he played terrible against the 49ers, right? They scored 9 points, lost to the 49ers. Next week, he played amazing and had a bunch of yards and touchdowns versus the Rams. And then he played the Seahawks. Now, granted, the Seahawks are one of the best defenses in the NFL, but he had 55 passing yards, I believe. It was terrible. This week, he's going to feed Rico Dowdle, but then he's also going to light up the Bucs defense like he kind of did 2 weeks ago. And also, surprisingly, Bryce Young, I believe, has the most fourth quarter comebacks the past 2 years, which is a really weird stat. So, yeah, just give me the Panther in this one. It's not Todd Bowles' defense. It's just been crumbling the second half of the season. Baker's just not been good unless he can find a spark. It's the Panthers' division to win this year.
Yeah, and our very own David would agree with you as well. He's got the Panthers winning this game 34-17. So
Give me the Panthers. It'll still be close because the Bucs did play a close game last time. It'll probably be close again, but give me the Panthers 20-10.
Ed?
Well, I think this game is going to set the NFL back probably about 35 years with how this is going to look. It is not going to be pretty on any side of the ball here. If you as you take a look at both of these teams, the Buccaneers have a point differential of -33 for the season. Well, that's only bested by the Panthers, who has a negative point differential of -67. How is that even possible that this game is worth anything? And at that point, I have to go with who I trust more. I trust Baker Mayfield more than I trust Bryce Young. And just for the fact that Baker Mayfield's been here before, Bryce Young and Rico Dowdle and that entire Carolina team, they really have not, as a organization, been in this situation in many years. So I'm going to go with who I trust. I trust the Buccaneers in this, and give me a cringy 17-15 final score.
Yeah, and Ed, I'm going to have to pretty much be similar here because we talked earlier about when the expectations are high on Baker is when he does his worst. At the beginning of this year, he was doing so great that it got to the point to where everyone was talking about, at this rate, Baker Mayfield's easily the MVP this year. The way he was looking, and after all that talk happened, it went down. Right now, there is no expectation with Baker Mayfield, so that's why I'm going to have to go with the Buccaneers as well, is that he's gonna pull it out of his hat in this game and win it, and it's gonna be in ugly fashion. I'm in total agreement with you, Ed. It's gonna be very ugly fashion. I picked the Bucs 2 weeks ago against the Panthers, and maybe I should have learned my lesson, but I'm going with them again this week. Give me the Bucs 15-12 over the Panthers, and each team's probably going to have at least 3 turnovers, so it's probably a given there. So, our next big game this week, and this is a very big game because we're fighting for the number 1 seed in the NFC, and that is the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, it really doesn't get any bigger than this because of what's at stake. The good news is that no matter what team loses, they're still in the playoffs, unlike the one that we just talked about where you lose, you're out. This one, you win, you're in, you lose, you're still in, but there is going to be, some seed changes possibly at hand in this game, depending on the outcome of other games. But right now we'll focus on this one where this is a great game. This is a great matchup. A lot of people wouldn't have thought the Niners being here at this point with all the injuries that they have faced this year, losing one of the best linebackers in the NFL. They have dealt with injury blow after injury blow. They're on their third and fourth string wide receivers. George Kittle's been out a lot. We saw Trent Williams go down as well last week, but they just keep fighting. They are so relentless that it makes it tough to really vote against them at this point because they are proving a lot of people wrong. So I want to give them a shout out first and foremost because of what they've overcome this year, enough to be at the last game of the year to possibly be eligible for the first to be the number one seed. The Seahawks, on the other side of things, what Coach McDonald has done up there has been phenomenal. We knew what he was going to bring over from the Baltimore Ravens with what he was able to do there. So we knew that we were a little unsure with the Sam Darnold signing. Yes, he had a great year last year with the Vikings, but then we saw kind of the true Sam Darnold come out, especially in the playoffs. But the NFL is all about taking leaps, and they did with Sam Darnold, sign him to a 3-year deal, around 100 million, I think, total. And has he been, the best quarterback in the NFL? No, but is he winning games? Yes. And what the connection and relationship he has with Jackson Smith and Jigba is a wonderful 1-2 punch. It really is. And Seattle lost a lot of wide receivers this offseason with the DK Metcalf trade to the Steelers, Tyler Lockett gone. It was a lot of fresh new faces there. Who was the next guy up? Well, Jackson Smith and Jigba is leading the NFL in receiving yards this year, and it looks like it's going to end that way also. So that probably wasn't on a lot of people's bingo cards. Yes, they have Kenneth Walker there, and I have a lot of higher hopes than most people do in their running back room, but we have yet to really fully see that. Has it been better than last year? Yes, it has. So there's a lot of great things going for Seattle right now, and it all starts at the top with their head coach. So I think they found one of the best coaches out there in the mix. We'll talk about some of the others later, I'm sure, but this is going to be a tight one, guys. This is really going to be a tight one. But Thaddeus, the Niners are your team. So I'm going to let you take this one a little bit further. What do the Niners have to do to win this game?
This is a really fun matchup, but it's the opposite of 80. I'd say 80% the opposite of playing the Bears. The Bears have had a really good, consistent offense despite an inconsistent quarterback. And they absolutely lit up the 49ers defense. However, on the opposite end, that Bears defense was really bad against what's been an epic 49ers offense. This week, you're getting the Seahawks, who are a top three defense, and then kind of the offense has been good for the Seahawks this year. Don't get me wrong, but it has been a little bit inconsistent as of late. And one of the more poor games that they played was against the 49ers. Now, that was in week one when the 49ers had Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa ended up making the play that ended the game for the Seahawks. So I'm going to expect a little bit more offensive firepower from the Seahawks this time. But then we get to see the 49ers offense versus this great Seahawks defense. Mike McDonald versus Kyle Shanahan. This might be a coaching matchup we're going to see for the next decade because it's so fun to watch these two coaches go. It's often been said Kyle Shanahan has been one of the best, if not the best play caller in the NFL the past 5 years, we say. And then Mike McDonald, rising up, from nothing to being one of the best defensive minds in the game, kind of like the defensive equivalent of Kyle Shanahan. So we've been seeing these two coaches do really good stuff on their own sides of the ball, despite, not having the best players, and it's just going to be really fun to see this matchup. Now we've got Brock Purdy, who's been on fire recently, 10 touchdowns the past 2 games. And then we're going to see the Seahawks defense, which is just really good on all 3 levels. Although you probably couldn't name more than 2 players on that defense. So I for one am excited. This will be one of the best matchups we'll see. Obviously, Rams Seahawks was a great game. Bears 49ers was a great game. But the intensity which we're going to play, it's going to be seen since the 49ers versus Seahawks back in 2019, where it was, I believe, a battle for the 1 seed. And it was Russell Wilson being stopped on the 1 yard line by Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers to get the 1 seed that year. It's the same stakes, slightly, vastly different teams in the case of the Seahawks and the 49ers. But it's still the same stakes, and we still got the same tension for it. And it's going to be really fun. This time it's in San Fran. Um, I honestly can't wait for this game. It's going to be fun. It's going to be close. Um, I'm not expecting the 49ers to put up as many points as they have the past couple of weeks because I really do believe that Seahawks defense can slow them down. But Brock Purdy's just been absolutely on fire. And the Seahawks offense is going to be able to run over the 49ers defense, which I will admit it is their weak point. However, every Super Bowl contender this year has their own weak points, so we really don't know. Like, this is one of the first really, really wide open years in the NFL. So the Seahawks, the 49ers defense has been their weak point. So we're going to have to see how that goes. If the 49ers offense can catch up like they did versus the Bears, that's going to be the key matchup for this game.
Are they going to be able to do that? Do you got them winning
I
the game?
I think so. Sam Darnold, remember last year, the final 2 games of the season, he collapsed. Midway through the season, the first time they played the Rams, he completely collapsed, and they only lost that game by 2 points. He came back, played a bad first half versus the Rams the second time, came back with a great second half, won the game for them in overtime. So it's still up in the air. I'm still going to take the history. I think Sam Darnold will come up short, just like Caleb Williams did last week versus the 49ers. So if I'm going to give my prediction now, give me the 49ers 27-24.
Ed, one team has a Christian McCaffrey, the other team doesn't. And that could play to be very big because you can't duplicate Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he is his very own, and the Niners are a lucky team to have him. How much is Carolina missing him right now? But what is the answer for the Seahawks to Christian McCaffrey?
Well, the answer is Clint Kubiak, because Clint Kubiak has, fostered an offense while Mike McDonald has taken over the defense that has been that is number 2 in the NFL in points per game. That's not something that most people would, just guess that of all teams to be in the top 2 of points per game, the Seahawks with Sam Darnold and one receiver and a couple of running backs that nobody's ever heard of. Nobody would think that. But here we are. We're in a world in which that is just like you talked about. Shanahan and McDonald are going to be facing each other for years to come. I'm looking forward to seeing Clint Kubiak against Robert Saleh for some time over the next few years, just because Kubiak has, he comes from that same system that Shanahan comes from. So he can actually help prepare the Seahawks defense to play Shanahan's offense. So it really becomes kind of the Spider-Man gif between these two teams, and they both know that what they're doing works. So why are they going to go against it? Now, overall, with the running games, as we've alluded to, Seattle is also number 2 in rushing attempts per game percentage-wise. So they are really grinding the game down to where that opens up Sam Darnold to have those throws down the field, to get Cooper Kupp involved, to get Jackson Smith and Jigba, you know, the the number one seed as far as wide receivers are concerned in the NFL. So this is a game in which I think all of that becomes to validation. I've been very critical of Sam Darnold for many, many weeks. In fact, every time that there's been a big game with Sam Darnold at quarterback, I have shied away from it. I'm I'm starting to believe, and it's time to believe. And this is the game that he's got to have for to make the rest of the world believe that he is that guy now, instead of just a guy that fit into an offense. He needs to put this on his shoulders, but it's not required for him to carry everything. That's the running back's job, and he is going to supplement it with the offense that Kubiak is going to call, which I think is going to attack those weaknesses that the 49ers have right now, just like the Bears did last week. There's a lot of tape right there that they are going to be able to use to really dig in and create some exciting plays for the Seahawks this week.
Yeah, it's almost like you took the words right out of my mouth, because I was kind of going to kind of rebuttal a little bit to Thaddeus's point. Is, sometimes history needs to be broken. It can't always repeat itself. I don't want to say I'm fully a believer, but I think Sam Darnold really learned last year how things could have looked differently if he had won those games at the end to create a better seed for the Vikings. So I think he's going to do that this year. I really do. I think he's going to get over that hump, win this game against the Niners, and be pretty convincing. I'm not saying the score is going to be convincing. I'm saying his stats are going to be pretty convincing. And I think it's going to be a very fun and close game, just like it was against Chicago and the Niners this last week. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Seahawks in this game, 28-24. Beating the Niners on the road, and Sam Darnold finally getting that really big win of his career. So it's going to be really fun to watch.
I'll be taking the Seahawks too, and I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than even that. I think it's going to be in the 38-31 range. Yes, both defenses are meant to suffocate you and clamp down, but these offenses, uh, they're just they're just too explosive to hold under wraps for the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Thaddeus, did you give a score prediction, or you? I know you picked the Niners. I just can't remember.
Yeah. I picked the Niners to win 27-24.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. So, well, on to our final and last game. And actually, it is the last game of the regular season on Sunday Night Football. And that is the Baltimore Ravens traveling into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers in a game that will decide who is the fourth and final seed in the AFC picture amongst division winners. The loser, well, they get to go home and probably talk about firing their head coach. So this is a very big game. It really is. Although I only think one coach is on the hot seat, if they're ever on the hot seat. I don't know, but we'll talk about that here in a bit. But you look on ESPN, you talk to people just last week before Saturday if this was going to happen, and people would say probably not. I mean, the Packers, surely, even though they're injured, they'll probably beat the Ravens, and the Steelers are playing the Browns. It's going to be decided, that week. Well, it was not. The Ravens decided to have their best game of the year since week one against the Bills with their backup quarterback, because why, Thaddeus? They decided to run the ball and give it to Derrick Henry. And what happens when you feed him the ball multiple attempts a game? You win the game. So that's
My
exactly
team still hurts from that game.
as they should, and as any team should. When you're having to face Derrick Henry and tackle him 20 plus times a game, you're going to hurt, because that guy does not slow down and he does not hurt. So why are they just now figuring that out this late in the year is beyond me. But here they are, though, one win away of making it to the playoffs when they were pretty much counted out for a while now. So the Steelers, on the other hand, well, they just couldn't beat a rookie quarterback in Cleveland, and where a lot of other teams can do that. And so it was very embarrassing for the Steelers. You have a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. You would think on paper, well, him against this rookie quarterback should be a pretty easy victory for him, and it was not. I mean, I know this is not the same Aaron Rodgers we're used to seeing with the Green Bay Packers, but at the end of the day, it is still Aaron Rodgers who plays a high level IQ football. So you would expect other things. The Steelers were without their top wide receiving targets. DK Metcalf was out, Calvin Austin out, and then early in the game, Darnell Washington, their freak of a tight end, breaking his arm, who is now out for the rest of the year. That's really big. I just feel like even though it was only one game, it was a big swing in momentum. The Ravens, no matter who they play at quarterback, whether it is Lamar Jackson or Snoop Tyler Huntley, whatever his name is nowadays, they have an identity. They know their key to success in this game, and that all feeds through Derrick Henry. So I think they're in such a great spot. The Steelers, on the other hand, you would have asked me 2 weeks ago with how great they looked against the Lions. Well, their identity is the same thing. Hand off the ball to their running backs. Give it to Jalen Warren. Give it to Kenneth Gainwell, because those are, the game breakers right there. They are making it happen. Last week, that was not the case. So now they pretty much have no identity. They don't know what they're doing. They are playing with a third string wide receiver group at this point. So, and one thing that I just noticed that to me last week was in the final drive of the Steelers game. I know everyone talks about 3 straight throws to MVS, and it's not even the 3 straight throws. It's when the Steelers picked up MVS, it was, well, he's got that chemistry already with Aaron Rodgers. And then 2 routes in a row were ran the wrong way. That can't happen. It really can't, especially this late in the year with your quarterback that you have all this chemistry with, whether it's the quarterback's fault or the wide receiver's fault. That cannot happen. And it is worrisome, because at that point, where do you go from here? Because you thought that's your go-to guy, and it clearly looked like that was not your go-to guy. So the Ravens, I think, are in a better position to win this game because they have their identity. And Thaddeus, I'll start with Ed here. If the Ravens somehow do not hand the ball off to Derrick Henry more than 15 times this game, can they still get the job done?
I don't know if they'll get the job done, but Harbaugh is going to get lynched if he doesn't continuously give the ball to the guy they call King. Who knew? You keep giving the ball to a guy named King, and good things are going to happen. And that's exactly the way the Baltimore Ravens are built to play football. Doesn't matter how many coaches they've been through since they moved to Baltimore. It has been that formula. It has been running game and defense, and don't lose the game. Go out and win it. And it has been baffling for a lot of the people in Baltimore that Harbaugh is somehow saving Derrick Henry for the playoffs, but here they are, they're almost missing the playoffs because he wasn't running Derrick Henry enough. So it is baffling how somebody that is considered such a great NFL coach, maybe all time, has been just stupid as far as how to handle his best weapons. So as far as how Baltimore gets it done, will they do this? I think they do, because they are going to limit their mistakes more so than Aaron Rodgers, who is maybe not seeing the field as well as he used to. Like I said, I've been through some of these all 22 films, and I'm not seeing the same clear read of the field through Aaron Rodgers that I'm used to seeing. So I saw him miss a couple wide open shots, in favor of the contested catch on the sideline. It was just weird not seeing Aaron Rodgers make those easy throws that create bigger plays. So I am going to go ahead and take Baltimore in this matchup. I think it's going to be weird, but I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be reflected in the final score. I think it's going to be more or less a 24-17 game in Baltimore's favor. I just don't think that there's enough in Pittsburgh's tank to uh, kind of get over the hump when Baltimore is controlling the line of scrimmage and controlling the game like they know how to do.
Yeah, and Thaddeus, before I let you get to kind of your predictions and your thought process on I'll just ask you this: isn't it crazy that over the last couple of weeks, especially since the Chiefs were eliminated, we talked about how Josh Allen may finally have a clear path. Well, the Ravens win this game. How much does that really change? I know they aren't the Ravens that we've seen, last year, but Lamar Jackson could come back in this playoffs a lot healthier because he has been sitting. Can that be pretty scary for the AFC?
Yeah, that's actually like a scenario that a lot of people haven't thought of. Obviously, this entails that the Ravens actually win their game against the Steelers. But if it does happen, it makes it really intriguing. Now, they are going to have to play the 5 seed, which do we know who the 5 seed would be?
Right now, the best percentage is the Houston Texans. That can change, but it's
Okay.
not the most likeliest scenario.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to say the least. I mean, obviously, having Tyler Huntley out there is not as exciting, but it would be very interesting to see Lamar, get to the playoffs because both Lamar and Josh Allen, they've been considered the top QBs in the NFL under Patrick Mahomes the past 4 to 5 years, and each of them have been knocked out 90% of the time by Patrick Mahomes. He's not there anymore. And a lot of people are saying, obviously Josh Allen, but I would even bring this up to Lamar Jackson as well. If either of those two do not win the NFC or the AFC this year, I don't know if they're ever going to win it because, like Ed said, the Chiefs might be back next year, retooling their place, and Patrick Mahomes once again is in the playoffs. So this literally might be the one year for them to win it. If they don't, it's going to leave a lot of questions to be desired on both of their playoff resumes because we both know they're great regular season quarterbacks. And Josh Allen has the numbers, at least in the postseason, to prove it, but he just hasn't won. So what's it going to be for both these guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I mean, does Baltimore get this game done to present that opportunity, Thaddeus?
I think so. Obviously, you do have the things that will happen in the game, like the Ravens running game will probably get the best of the Steelers. Steelers, I do think will keep it close. But then the Ravens defense has actually been a lot better the second half of the season. They had one bad game against the Bengals, but even though the Bengals have been eliminated, the Bengals are just like, yeah, we're just going to put up 40 points because we're eliminated now. It doesn't matter. So they only put up the points when it doesn't matter, I guess, this year. But other than that, the Ravens defense has been pretty good. Obviously, not at the level that the Browns defense can play once a month, which the Steelers unfortunately ran into was the once a month good Browns defense. But you have that going, and then I just simply believe in the 9-8 curse. The Steelers have to go 9-8, and the only way that's going to happen is if they lose against the Ravens. So give me the Ravens because Mike Tomlin has to go 9-8. Give me the score: Ravens 24-17.
In the NFL, you got to play to win. You really do, and I know it sounds corny, but I'm going to use that same uh, verbiage on my end because you asked me any other week, and actually you asked me this week as well. I'm picking the Ravens to beat the Steelers, but I'm going to pick the Steelers only because I have to pick the Steelers because I have to pick every other team that Thaddeus does not pick in order to tie him in our records on this show. So I have to go with the Steelers this week only because I'm trying to win our little host competition here on our side. So I'll go with the Steelers, but in reality, I don't think the Steelers are going to win, but I'm only doing it so I could
I'm
possibly beat
forcing you to root for your team. You should be happy.
I know. I really should be. So, and I hope they prove me right. I don't think they're going to, but I'll go with the Steelers. I'll make up a score this game. Give me them winning 20-17. So, one thing of note is the last couple of weeks, Chris Boswell, who's been one of the best and most accurate kickers in NFL history, has missed several field goals, which rarely happens. So, that's something to really keep an eye out on. Hopefully he fixes that to, really make it an interesting game. So, and of note, David did pick the Steelers to beat the Ravens 19-13, and he also did pick the Seahawks to beat the Niners 33-23. So I forgot to mention that on the last game. So Ravens Steelers last game of the year. Who's going to show up? We're going to see. Actually, out of all these teams, because you're playing for the playoffs. I mean, a lot of these teams that we just talked about, they lose, their season's done. They're packing their bags, they're going home, and thinking about what they could have done better. So it's going to be a lot for some of these teams to overcome what they are dealing with, but ultimately, this is where you need to shine the most. If you want to make the playoffs, if you want to make a run in the playoffs, you have to shine the most. And also, Aaron Rodgers has a lot of bonuses riding on making the playoffs and winning games in the playoffs. So if he's financially motivated, maybe we'll see how he shows up.
It's weird how that happens.
Yeah, money does that a lot. So, well, Thaddeus, what are we looking at record-wise is right now?
Well, I'll bring up what you said earlier. But yeah, it was basically David in last place, 18-34. He did go 2-0 last week. Ed third place, 23-29. So you can make it close, but obviously we still have the playoffs. So this is Matt in second place and me in first place. This is for the regular season. Now, obviously, it can change with the playoffs. We can do a whole bracket, or we can continue on with this. But then, like Matt said, he's 3 games behind me. He's at 27-25. He went 2-0 last week. I'm able to keep on to a 3 lead and not lose this week because I went 1-1, which brings me at 30-22. So, like he said, if he gets all 3 picks right and I get all 3 picks wrong, we will have a tie at the end of the regular season. So,
and you know what that means? A coin flip at a gas station in Texas.
Duh.
Ed knows all about that. He was there. So, yeah. So we will have to see how that tiebreaker goes. But it's going to be a little bit to get there, but I'm hoping for the best. Okay. So, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. We really do. It means a lot when you're here watching these episodes with us and, just following along. We are sports fans, and we aim to please you as well as sports fans, and to hopefully feed you with knowledge. But if you could feed us with knowledge, we would appreciate that as well. So please continue to hit that like and subscribe button and share with us your comments, your thoughts, your opinions. And if you have any fun sports facts or stats that you think that we ought to know that we don't know, please let us know what those are as well. Once again, we wish you a happy New Year's. We look forward to catching you next year. But until next time, guys, that is the final whistle. We'll catch you next week.